And first up this week, we have Death's Favorite Warlock, a new series from Charles Dean. So there you go. It's actually a really good description of kind of the setup for the story and kind of the thematic mixes of cultivation and lit RPG. It's an interesting new kind of story from the author. Generally, his other stories that he's written have been mostly like a fantasy lit RPG style. So this is kind of a new branch of story that he's doing. You can definitely tell that the author has a real love for lit RPG, but also a respect and caring for cultivation stories that he's read a lot. As someone who's recently got into webcomics and manhwa, I think I'm saying that right, kind of cultivation stories, I definitely noticed like a lot of like things he's pulling from like well-known stories or just like that genre itself and pulling them into his story, and definitely making fun of both genres in a kind of good nature, but also like I like, oh, he's making fun of this well-known trope, and that's definitely a hallmark of the author enjoying the genre that he's working in. The storytelling in this is going to be familiar to anybody who's enjoyed a cultivation novel or who's read a comic of that kind. So people who like cultivation are going to like this. People who like RPG are going to enjoy this. So there's a broad category of people who are probably going to enjoy this. I personally really thought it was funny. Some of the nods the author's made to other stories in other series that he's written. As someone who's read everything Charles Dean has written, I was like, oh, I recognize this, and I'm like, is this connecting to that thing that isn't into the story? I don't want to spoil things, but those little touches always make you appreciate how much the author cares about his readers and connecting things and doing good storytelling. The only kind of issue for me personally when I was reading the story was definitely at the beginning of it. The beginning kind of had some issues in storytelling for me. They're not, I mean, this is honestly a tiny thing. I think I wish that there was just more details about the main character's upbringing and more story, I guess. I wanted to connect with the main character and his world a little bit more in the very beginning. Once the story as it is, I think takes a little longer to connect you to the main character and the world building than I probably would have liked, or I probably would have appreciated, I guess, because I just wanted more information on the character, more things to like learn about him, so I could be engaged in his successes and failures much earlier. The author does do plenty of good character development. It just takes a little while took a little while for me, I should say, to connect to the character a little bit. Once I did, everything was really fun and interesting. There's lots of fighting, lots of adventure, lots of good cultivation, action, worksheet kind of stuff going on in the story. And I had a definitely good time with it. It just took a little longer to connect to the main character than I think I would have liked. Still, overall, it's a good story, good literature that branches into this cultivation universe without leaving behind the RPGs, which is a very hard mix to do. Sometimes authors will just abandon the RPG stuff entirely for a more wand wavy magic system kind of cultivation thing, or they'll do some weird mix. And I think this is a very interesting decision on how the author combined the RPG stuff with like a cultivation kind of world and making those both inherently important to this particular story universe. And even for me, somebody who's not like a huge fan of cultivation, still kind of enjoys the webcomic version of it, but not necessarily all the fan translated stuff that's out in the universe. Even I enjoyed like the pokes and the jokes about cultivation or that kind of thing. So for me, I had a good time with it. It gets a score 7.4 out of 10. That's Death's Favorite Warlock with a score of 7.4 out of 10.